Welcome to day 5 on our journey down the road to the NBA trade deadline. A video series where every day, for the 2 weeks leading up to the NBA trade deadline, I'm making a different trade. And I'm trying not to focus too much on trades that people are already talking about too much and trying to avoid trades that have already happened. But you can find that playlist up on the little card in the top right. It should be popping up around now. So if you want to see some of the other trades I've talked about, there you go. But today we're going to get a little bit more elaborate with things and do our first 3-team trade of the Road to the Deadline series. And we're going to start with the New York Knicks, who have already made a trade this year for OG Anunoby. They also got Precious Achiuwa and Malachi Flynn, but those are not big names for them. It was really the OG Anunoby trade, at least for the Knicks. However, they have been rumored and reported to be considering making another move before the deadline in order to try to maybe consolidate for a bigger move in the offseason. They have the Evan Fournier contract. He's not playing, and the second year of this is a team option, if I'm correct. Actually, check that right now. And yeah, it is a team option. So he's effectively expiring money, and that's a pretty decently large contract. That has definitely been something the Knicks have been in talks about trading. And Quentin Grimes is another one. This is kind of their next piece in the Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quigley, RJ Barrett trio, if you will, of players that kind of get lumped together in these talks. But it has been said and reported the Knicks would prefer not to do a trade with another Eastern Conference team, because of course the OG Anunoby trade was with the Raptors. So we're going to go ahead and head to one of the Western Conference teams that could probably use the help in the Warriors. Now I know I've already talked about the Warriors and made some interesting trades with them, but today we're going, like I said, we're doing a 3-team trade. So this is not all we're looking at. We also have to add the Hawks here. We're going to go ahead and add the Hawks, and I know Eastern Conference, but at this point, if this is happening, we're kind of assuming the Hawks are already kind of in sell mode, right? So you're pricing multiple pieces move. But the Knicks are going to kind of push a lot of chips in to do something here. You know, they may have to include some picks here. I'm not really 100% sure, depending on how some of this goes, but the Evan Fournier contract is going to go to the Warriors, not necessarily because they need the cap space. They're, one of the teams that's pretty high up there in terms of not having it, but and they're also going to be sending Quentin Grimes rather, to the Warriors. So basically, expiring contract and a young guard. Now they already have pods, so this is a little bit of a redundancy, but this is, I think, going to play out in the Warriors long term a better deal. Now, we brought the Hawks in for a very specific reason, and this is something that has been talked about a little bit. They're going to be getting one Dejounte Murray, and in order to make some stuff work out here in just a second, they're also getting Patty Mills. Love me some Patty Mills. Australia, let's go. Anyway, then the Hawks are going to be getting back Julius Randle. But you're probably asking, what, the Warriors haven't done anything. They're just getting 2 players. What are they trading? Well, there are 2 things, which is why I left this blank. I believe, if I'm correct, you can make the money work on either Andrew Wiggins or Draymond Green. So it really depends on what the Knicks are looking for. They traded Julius Randle to get Dejounte Murray, so they may want a power forward. Now, Draymond is obviously not Julius Randle. They're very different players, but you do get more playmaking here than you did with Julius Randle. But if you want a more athletic and potential more upside player, you're probably looking at Andrew Wiggins. But, tentatively, just kind of position to position, we're sending Draymond over to the Knicks. Now, like I said, Draymond's giving you playmaking. He does score a little bit, and he's a big body. Maybe a change of scenery will help kind of mellow him out a little bit, maybe. if you want that. And then you get Patty Mills, who off the bench can be a relatively good scorer. And you have Dejounte Murray to pair along Jalen Brunson. So this is kind of exactly what they were wanting to do. And there's been a lot of talks of Murray and Donovan Mitchell. They want another guard right there along Jalen Brunson. And this does that. Patty Mills is really just for salary, expires anyway. And Draymond's kind of replacing that Julius Randle role, being 2 inches shorter. So this does shrink what the Knicks are physically going to be on the court. But I do think that this gives them a slightly better chance in trying to get over that hump of getting past the 76ers, past the Bucks, and so on. Now, if we look at what the Warriors are getting, like I said, expiring contract in Evan Fournier opens them up a little bit money-wise. They're getting off of Darymond Green or Andrew Wiggins, depending on which one. And they're getting another young guard. Now, this is something I think they can either use if they end up trying to be a little bit more fiscally responsible, or it's something they can put back in a trade. Because Quentin Grimes hasn't gotten necessarily a ton of time with the Knicks, and hasn't necessarily looked the best, but he has been, he's shown a lot of flashes in his time with the Knicks. And the Hawks are getting Julius Randle. They're kind of in sell now mode. Maybe Julius Randle pairs better with a Trae Young and a Jalen Johnson. Maybe he doesn't, and you have to end up trading him somewhere else. It's hard to say. But this frees Trae Young up to be Trae Young, I suppose. But that's kind of it. This is I want to say relatively simple trade, but as far as what each team is getting, the Knicks are obviously going to be getting the better players in this. It does help the Warriors to an extent in terms of looking to the future. And like I said, maybe the Knicks are having to throw some picks out here, maybe some seconds, maybe some protected firsts here and there. And the Hawks kind of maybe in the same situation, but they're all they're very different players. I think it's probably a much more direct comparison in terms of quality of player. But once again, the Hawks have had such a difficult time building around Trae Young. I don't even know if this makes any sense, to be honest. But yeah, that's it. Let me know in the comments below. Am I crazy for this? Is this the Knicks robbing everyone else? Or does this help set the Warriors up for next year and maybe give the Hawks a different look for Trae Young to work with?